And good afternoon. It's the Pit Stop. The Look Ahead Show is what we're calling the Wednesday show here, where we look ahead to the weekend's racing coming up. And this week, it's a little bit different of a race weekend. Thursday night trucks, Friday night Xfinity, Saturday night under the lights, Bristol Motor Speedway coming up. So new format this week, if you're catching us now. If you missed it on Mondays, we're going to do a review of the racing weekend. So that will go up. It's just strictly what happened over the weekend, our thoughts on the races, etc. What used to be the first half of the show comes out on Monday afternoon now. On demand, Robat TV, the YouTube page as well. You can catch that, of course. Free podcast at the Pit Stop Talk is where you can find that. On Podbean only right now. We'll expand it out here as soon as we can. But that is out there available now for Monday. You know, it's a little bit shorter of a show. We're not doing the full hour unless it commands it. This show here, we call it the Look Ahead. Well, we're looking ahead to Bristol, the weekend's race coming up with stats, figures, predictions, etc. out there coming your way. And this is an exciting time of year because the playoffs are underway. All three series now in their playoff mode. Xfinity, race one of their first three races here, their first round for them. Happens this weekend at Bristol, and it just look. We got two series where you got two dominant drivers, and they're expected to win championships. Right? Is there somebody else that can kind of get there? I spent a lot of time watching the Xfinity race media days, and there's some dark horses that might be able to get out here and win a championship, but obviously the favorite's Connor Zilisch in the Truck Series. It's Corey Heim. Now, Connor Zilisch does not have as big of a gap as Corey Heim does on that side. We'll talk about that coming up here. But first, let's get right into this. And let's talk about the Truck Series. Thursday night racing over there at Bristol, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. our time here in Phoenix. As well, of course, Fox Sports does all the truck races, FS1 out there. Qualifying will be Thursday, 1:10 p.m. Phoenix time, 4:10 p.m. Eastern time. If you like to watch the qualifying there at Bristol, well, comes up on Thursday for you as well. Let's go ahead. Truck Series was off last week. They've had one of their first three races of this first round of the playoffs. Well, let's refresh your memory here on where we stand on the playoffs here. This is Truck 1 here. Playoff standings. Corey Heim, of course, won the first race in race 1 of 3 in the round of 10. So Corey Heim advances automatically to the next round. Then you got Lane Riggs there in that second spot, Daniel Hemrick in the third, Grant Effinger fourth, Tyler Ingram in the fifth, Ty Majeski sixth, Rajah Caruth, in seventh, Jake Garcia in eighth spot. Is the guy that got into this playoffs, right, with, a driver not doing his waiver, and so Jake Garcia got in outside the cut line in the playoffs in the next round. As of now, Chandler Smith is in the 9th spot, and then Caden Honeycutt there in the 10th spot for him as well, going into the second race of the playoffs as well. The 250-lap race here at Bristol, so it is a longer one. The other races at Bristol, the last couple have also been the 250-lappers, which means it does some changes here in the Truck Series in terms of what we see with these NASCAR races with the longer 250 races here for the Truck Series. One, doesn't go into overtime. The winner, basically a racer that leads the most laps in the Truck Series here, generally wins this race as well, which does favor, of course, Corey Heim in this race coming up as well. The April race winner was Chandler Smith here at Bristol. Can he get a repeat? He needs a win. You saw him outside looking in here in the round of 10 in that 9th spot. Needs a good race, needs a good finish. Obviously, 2 more races to go, so it doesn't get disqualified, but a win will put you through. So can we get a repeat winner here in Chandler Smith this weekend? Last 4 Bristol playoff races have been won by current playoff drivers out there. Lane Riggs runs Bristol pretty well. Corey Heim obviously runs everything well. He's out there as well. Ty Majeski, last year's champion, is one here at Bristol as well. And then, of course, as I just said, Chandler Smith, right, coming in here to be another repeat winner here as well. So you have some experience here in the Truck Series at Bristol. Can one of those guys get it done and get the win in order to advance on? I will say this: my idea on Bristol, a somebody that wins a lot and somebody that is very familiar and has won at Bristol before is probably winning this truck race here this weekend. So look at Riggs, Himes, Majeski, or Chandler Smith out there as winners here, possibly coming up this weekend. I'll give my picks in just a little bit. Front Row Motorsports, they've won the last two Bristol races. Very successful team here at Bristol as well, at least lately. And then kind of just the manufacturers you want to look at out there. Ford's, obviously, with that Front Row Motorsport news. Well, Fords have been good here the last couple races. But the manufacturer that's not good in the Truck Series here at Bristol, Toyotas. They are not good at all. They don't win very often on short tracks. Interesting stat here. Corey Heim won at Richmond, which is considered a short track, and was the first Toyota win in the last 9 short tracks out there. Kind of makes you look at it and say, well, Corey Heim either wins this or it's not going to be a Toyota that wins this race, kind of, if you want to look at historical standards around Bristol and everything like that. Why is this race important to the truck season? Obviously, when you move on, obviously you have a bad standings. You drop down below with one race to go in this round of 10. Can we throw up those playoff standings one more time here? And the reason why is pay attention to something really important here as well. So basically, you see here, Corey Heim automatically advances on. Lane Riggs is 38 points up on that 8th spot right now. Daniel Hemrick is 33. Grant Effinger's 30. Tyler Inkram's 22. Maybe not so much Tyler Inkram, but a magic number in this race is 57 points. So if Lane Riggs can get, even if he doesn't win this race, he gets to the 57-point line. Same thing with Daniel Hemrick. Even if you don't win, you get to the 57 line. Same with Grant Effinger. Basically any driver, but those are the 3 that can realistically get to that 57 line. If you hit 57 points ahead of that 8th spot, there right now it's Jake Garcia, you'll automatically advance to the next round. So this weekend isn't always about winning. If Lane Riggs can't win this race, if he's battling it at the end, got to finish this race and get to that 57-point level above that 8th spot to automatically advance with points for the 3rd race of this round of 10, and it gets you to advance on. So it's not always about winning. Yes, you want to win it, get your automatic guarantee on, but in the playoffs, right, they have all the math guys out there do all this stuff to get to that level and win this race. So who's going to win this truck race at Bristol this weekend? Can Corey Heim do it? Well, Toyotas don't run hill here. Corey Heim's going to have some bad luck hit him a little bit. He's been so successful this season to move on. I just don't have faith in the Toyotas coming into this weekend in terms of that based off of what I've told you before. Ty Majeski, repeat, reigning champion here on this series. Can he get a win going into this? I'm not just so sure he can get that win either going into this as well. Lane Riggs, to me, is a guy to pay attention to here to win this race. I do think him and Corey Heim might battle it out a little bit to get to this finish line. The guy I want to pay attention to and the guy I think has a good shot at this win is Chandler Smith. Right? He had some success here in April. I think going into this race, he's a confident driver in what's happening out there. So look at Chandler Smith going into this, but I'm not choosing Chandler Smith to win this. To me, Lane Riggs is going to outperform Corey Heim. He is going to be in the front. They're going to be battling it out there. He's going to escape some damage. He's going to escape some things. I think Lane Riggs leads a lot of this race here, and Lane Riggs gets the win here in the Truck Series to move on to the next round. So, I think this is going to be with the 250 laps. I think this is going to be a fairly spread out race. I think we're going to see not a lot of drama in this race, and that's where I think maybe Lane Riggs is able to sneak out this victory here at Bristol this weekend in the Truck Series. Then you got on Saturday, of course. On Friday. Everything's moved up a day. So I'm excited for that Thursday night truck race. You got college football on. teams that are, the Mac action and all that stuff. Well, you also can pay attention to the Truck Series. I think that's a good move here by these guys. Then you got the Xfinity Series Friday night. Green flag flies around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. here in Phoenix. High school football going on. I believe Arizona plays Friday night, I believe as well. But some college football going on Friday night, 4:30 p.m. Start your sports night off really well with the Xfinity race there on the CW coming up there. Qualifying, if you like to watch that for this, is Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which makes it 11 a.m. Phoenix time here for the qualifying for the Xfinity Series going into this Friday night race for them out there. Same situation now. We've got the playoffs locked in. This is the first race of 3 in the first round for the Xfinity Series coming up here. But let's go ahead, refresh you. We did it on Monday. Let's refresh you on where we stand in the playoffs right now. Xfinity 1. Connor Zilic, obviously, dominated. 9 wins for him on the season. Dominated at 59 points here as a rookie. Big point advantage going into this first round of the Xfinity playoffs out there. His teammate, Justin Allgaier, reigning champion of the Xfinity Series. Behind him, with a distant 30-point lead over that final 8 spot as well for him going into that. Sam Mayer, dark horse here, folks, going into the Xfinity Series. I'll tell you right now, Sam Mayer is not somebody to ignore going into these playoffs. Way even farther back than Justin Allgaier and the JR Motorsports guys on the top there. 11 points up from that 8 spot. Look, Connor Zilic, Justin Allgaier, they're going to advance out of this line unless something disastrous happens to them. Then it's just a crapshoot. Look how close these are here. Anybody, even Austin Hill in that 12th spot, because he has no playoff points, because they all got taken away from him with that suspension and rough driving and all of that stuff. Even Austin Hill has a shot here to get up to that top line. This is as competitive a first round of an Xfinity we've seen in a while. And this is going to be a lot of fun to watch coming up here, starting in race 1 this weekend at Bristol coming up. So, domination on the top here with 2 drivers of the JR Motorsports team, and then just bunched up all top to bottom there on the Xfinity side. Now, if we want to look back at Gateway as well, for the Xfinity Series, we have ratings as we keep track of the ratings as we go through this season. We've seen some drops here as well, but the CW, right? Big competition here with college football going on right now. Of course, now NFL for the Cup side. Well, the CW, they earned 989,000 total viewers, so it did drop down below that million number that they generally view at as well for them. And this was all at that Worldwide Technology Raceway there outside of St. Louis. Now, here's the other side, right? 989,000, well, viewership actually was up. 23% up, to be in fact, compared to the Xfinity race on the same weekend last year. That was in Atlanta, now called Echo Park Speedway. So 23% up to last year at the same time. So if you want to compare it to the 2024 regular season finale, which last year was at Bristol Motor Speedway, which is the first one here, Gateway had a 9% increase over that race at Bristol last year, which was the regular season finale. So up numbers here against stiff competition with college football kicking off, of course, against these guys here. The audience did peak at 1.16 million people. Toward the end of the race there, of course, did people tune in because Connor Zilic was winning, his 9th race? Did people tune in because just to switch over from, college football? Who knows? But you did see a big bump there for them as well going into the gate ratings compared to last year out there. So opening race of the playoffs here at Bristol for the Xfinity side. One past champion made the playoffs. Justin Allgaier made the playoffs here as the past champion, which means a lot. Justin Allgaier has a ton of experience. Connor Zilic, rookie, 19-year-old rookie. Obviously, rookie breaking all sorts of rookie records. 9 wins for him. But this is the 10th year Justin Allgaier has made the playoffs. He's made it every year since 2016, which incidentally was the inception of the playoffs here in the Xfinity side. He's made the playoffs every year. Experience galore for Justin Allgaier coming into this year's playoff race. Compared to a rookie, this is fascinating. And you saw their playoff points, how dominant those two racers were compared to everybody else out there. 4 rookies made the playoffs this year as well. Zilich, Nick Sanchez, Taylor Gray, and then Carson Vappel, who's in that 8th and final spot there. I'm sorry, in the 10th and final spot, right? No, 8th and final spot. I apologize, folks. I got confused there. There's 12 drivers in this one coming up here. So 4 rookies coming in, getting their playoff experience. Look, playoffs can change them. Yes, it's race by race by race. But if you're not in the next round and you're on that cut line or close to it going to that third race, pressure ramps up on you as you get to that point as well. So no driver has ever won 5 in a row. Connor Zilich has won 4 in a row now. He's won 7 of his last 8 races that he's been in. 7 of his last 8. No one's ever done that before. I think 3 or 4 drivers have won 4 in a row. Nobody's ever won 5 in a row. 7 of 8, nobody's ever done out there either for Connor Zilich. Total momentum going into these playoffs for Connor Zilich and his 88 team of JR Motorsports. Then you look at the reigning champion, Justin Allgaier, the other dominant driver here on this course. He's the only past Xfinity Bristol winner racing this weekend as well. So Allgaier with all of his playoff experience going into Bristol, a lot of experience there as well. And then, of course, Allgaier winning the championship last year. Ready and performed to come in here, and he knows the playoff pressures and how to run it. Something coming up here between these drivers in the Xfinity side here at Bristol. Some unknowns can happen here at Bristol. We all know that, right? Somebody gets squirrely. Somebody messes up as they race around this racetrack. Bristol's that .55, right? Oval, concrete oval. 0.533, excuse me. Concrete oval. Big embankments. One guy gets squirrely as you're racing together. One guy's where they line up 2x2, sometimes 3x3. And one guy gets squirrely, takes out half the field. Guys get damaged, etc. So anything can happen at this race. We know anything can happen coming up here. But experience is what gets you through on this side that you're looking at coming up here. So you can throw out those stats, right, where Chevrolet led 3,097 of 4,001 laps this season, 77%. Well, yes, that does include a couple Bristol races, but, a Ford can get up there in front this weekend and run some laps because of some wrecks that happen and stuff like that. Chevrolet won 23 of 26 races out there. That's the most all-time by a manufacturer through 26 races in series history. So Chevy's been dominant on the Xfinity Series. Obviously, when you have Zilich with 9, Justin Allgaier with his 4, you got a lot of races won just in that side of things on top of it that you're looking at. Does that come into play this weekend? Does that continue here? Does some of the unknowns happen? It's kind of a question that you have going into this races. Generally, Xfinity races had 5 races this year end in last lap pass. So we're 26 races in the season and only 5 had ended with the last lap pass. Domination is the key here on the Xfinity Series. Whoever wins this race this weekend, they might be battling it out at the end, but do you get a pass, right? And things like that. Whoever wins this race is going to be, in front, basically in front a lot of this race this weekend. So it's easy, right? You can look at Connor Zilich. You can look at Justin Allgaier and pick one of those 2 guys. And folks, you just have to do it at this point. I'm going to go with Connor Zilich this weekend at Bristol to win. One simple thing, one hot, dominant hand. He's going to be in front most of the race as long as his equipment's good. So Connor Zilich is going to win this race, but I really want to see it. That's why I'm picking the favorite. Those of you that watch this program know I don't generally go with the favorite at all. Refuse to go with the favorite, actually. Why am I picking the favorite, Connor Zilich, this weekend here at Bristol? I want to see somebody win 5 in a row. It's that simple. That's all I want to see. I want to see 8 of 9. I want to see 5 in a row. After 5 in a row, I'm not going to get greedy. I won't pick him again after that. That's why I'm going to go with Connor Zilisch this weekend coming up. On Monday, when we did the look back show and we set up the playoffs and the way the playoffs were set up and the brackets, we kind of looked at it. Connor Zilisch is obviously the favorite to win the championship. Justin Allgaier can do it also. He is a teammate. Something happens to the Connor Zilisch team, Justin Allgaier is going to be right there to step into that place and win a title. I want to make you very aware of my stance here on anybody else winning it. Corey Heim better win the truck championship, for instance. He better win it. If anybody else wins the truck championship over Corey Heim, shocker. It's going to be a shock beyond shock beliefs that somebody else does it. You can't look at the truck series and go, oh, this guy can do it. This guy can do it in all actuality without kind of stretching to get there. And my old body doesn't stretch that far without hurting itself. This Xfinity series is a little tighter. Obviously, Connor Zilisch, Justin Allgaier, either one of those two guys can win it. You will not be surprised. Pay attention to Sam Mayer. Sam Mayer has a legit chance to not only make the championship four, but win the title at the end of the year, especially here at Phoenix. The other guy I want to tell you about that's kind of been forgotten, he's got an uphill battle. 0 playoff points coming in. Was hot this year. 3 race wins. Had success. Lots of good finishes for Austin Hill. Don't forget about Austin Hill. He gets through this first round. Yes, it resets and he goes back to 0. But Austin Hill can do things to advance through these playoffs and make that championship four. And he makes that championship four here in Phoenix for the championship. I'm not going to bet against him going into it. Well, I will because we'll have to pick somebody out there. So don't just go, well, Connor Zilisch or Justin Allgaier is going to win this thing, so why watch it? Sam Mayer, pay attention to, and Austin Hill, pay really close attention to as well going into these Xfinity playoffs. Connor Zilisch is winning this weekend, though, folks. Simple as that coming up, in my opinion, on the other side. And, JR Motorsports dominates this Xfinity series, and especially lately. We already told you Chevrolet dominates it this year as well. And there's no surprise that they're out there. JR Motorsports, which is Allgaier and Connor Zilisch, they've won 11 of the last 13 races with 4 different drivers. Of course, when you win 7 of 8, you get on that list, as you go through that side. Connor Zilisch actually won 34 of his starts this year. The best win percentage of all time for Connor Zilisch from that side. Everything points to a championship of JR Motorsports again this year, and everything points to Connor Zilisch going into it. I watched the media day stuff, and they asked Justin Allgaier, what do you do? And he goes, we got the speed. We just got to beat him. We just got to beat him. They're hot right now, folks, going into he's not going to win every race here going into the playoffs. Other people are going to win. Just who's going to be where you're at that point is the bigger question that we have going into. Do you have somebody else besides Connor Zilisch and Justin Allgaier, Sam Mayer, even Austin Hill? Do you disagree with me on those two? Hit me up on the social medias, right? X, for instance, at the Pit Stop Talk. Let me know if you have a dark horse, a non-JR Motorsports driver that can possibly win this championship here on the Xfinity sides coming up here this weekend. Before we get to the Cup Series this weekend, let's just go ahead and let's take a quick break here. Come on back. Hit up the Cup Series. Of course, they race Saturday underneath the lights as well. Who's going to win this one? And, folks, I made a declaration at the beginning of this playoff saying I think Denny Hamlin's going to have a tough playoffs. He's proven me wrong so far. I think he might prove me wrong again this weekend. We'll talk about that. So come on back. It's the Pit Stop Look Ahead Show. And we're back here at the Pit Stop. I was just catching up on some 2311 Front Row Motorsports news. Judge kind of gave an indication today as well with that battle. We'll talk about that here in just a few. Of course, we got big playoff action here in the NASCAR Series, Truck Series Thursday night, Friday night, Xfinity, Saturday night under the lights. And I saw Denny Hamlin say on his podcast, right, action's detrimental. He doesn't like the Saturday night races. I actually think they're a lot of fun. I wouldn't do them every week, I do think they're a lot of fun, and I enjoy them on certain racetracks out there. But the Cup Series, Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, roughly the green flag, and then 4:30 p.m. our time here in Phoenix as well. So, let's get you updated on the playoff standards for those of you that don't remember where we stand going into this Bristol rate. NASCAR 1 is where we're looking at here, and Denny Hamlin, of course, won last weekend, so he moves on to the round of 16. Chase Briscoe, by winning the first race of the playoffs, moves on to the round of 16 as well. So which means, if you do the math, this is race 3 of 3 in the round of 16. Win, you're guaranteed the spot into the next round. Don't win, you have to point your way in. I told you on Monday's show, if you go back and listen to the recap there, it's going to be very difficult as we start at the bottom. I do think, I said it going into the playoffs, Alex Bowman, Josh Berry, we're not going to advance out of this round of the playoffs. I also said SVG is not going to do it either. But if SVG does get out of this, he's got a real shot with the Charlotte Oval to advance again. And they're all three on the bottom, outside looking in of the playoffs. And they're all, basically, Alex Bowman and Josh Berry need a win to move on. And that's not happening at Bristol unless a major accident happens and they just happen to get through it. Same thing with Shane Van Gisbergen. Just not going to be able to do enough, even though he's close enough to make a strike here to point his way up. Something could happen, right, to Austin Cindric or Ross Chastain. Early in this, Joey Logano even. He's had bad luck sometimes early in races. So those guys can switch into where maybe SVG or Austin Dillon can move up. It's just not looking good for them out there. If there is a change here, I do see Austin Cindric maybe falling below the line, but obviously a big deal here. But win and move on. And if not, got to point your way. And Joey Logano was underneath that line in that 13th spot going into the last race. Did well enough there at WWTR that he's 21 points up now. So you can make that big of a swing if it is necessary to do so out there. So, Bubba Wallace, safe, moving on. Kyle Larson, safe, moving on. Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, moving on. No questions asked in my eyes. They're going to be able to do it. Christopher Bell, unless he just has a nightmare scenario in this race, which I don't anticipate, he's going to move on as well. Chase Elliott will also. Joey Logano, unless he leaves this race early, will advance. And I hope he doesn't, because Bristol is a good racetrack, and he'll do well there if his equipment stays up there and he avoids the muck that he can sometimes get into here. So somebody's going to move on in the playoffs that, you're going to be like, all right, whatever. Austin Cindric right now is that guy in that 12th spot there to move on. So it is a situation, little bit of question marks here at the end, but will there be a surprise? Will somebody move their point system here? Is somebody go out of this race early? Will somebody move up? Be interesting to watch here as we get into this race here at Bristol this weekend. But first, looking back at Gateway as well, TV ratings. USA Network, they got a .82 rating, which means they had 1.525 roughly million viewers for that race there at Worldwide Technology Raceway. It was on USA as well, and that was down. 1.8 million were viewed last year's second playoff race. So what's that? 1.5 million, 1.8 million, so 0.3 million, 300,000 people roughly. By the way, last year's second playoff race, I had to go look that up. Watkins Glen is what that was last year as well. So a street race outperformed WWTR. Obviously, NFL football's first weekend happened as well on Sunday. So I didn't even see this Cup race until later in the day because I was watching the Cardinals play and a couple other games. So I didn't even see this till later on. I did not watch it live out there or anything. By the way, 2.5 million viewers for the 2024 event at Worldwide Technology Center as well on FS1. That was held in June, though, so earlier in the season with only baseball really happening and basketball playoffs at that point there. So ratings continue to be what they are here for NASCAR. Now, as we get farther in the playoffs, we might see some uptick. Saturday night ratings are generally not good for NASCAR. And what I mean by good is they normally are down a little bit, right? You have that late window of college football that people are paying attention to. For instance, I'll be at the ASU game. ASU plays Texas State on Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. I'll be able to watch the beginning of it before I take off and head down there, and I'll be watching on my itty-bitty phone until kickoff at that point. So you have that competition level out there. Follow me at the Pit Stop Talk, by the way. I do, if I'm able, I will be watching the race this weekend. Got the weekend all planned there, so I will be live tweeting and thoughts like that out there on what we are looking at. Other things that came out of WWTR, well, NASCAR says they do plan to talk to Trackhouse Racing about two of its cars running through the grass last weekend at WWTR. Yeah. They say the actions, quote, caught our radar is the exact quote. Caught our radar, according to NASCAR. So the managing director of the NASCAR Cup Series, Brad Moran, he came out and he made the comments Tuesday on that Sirius XM NASCAR radio channel. Here's his exact quote. We'll have to be having some discussions with Trackhouse in management as well as their crew chiefs, and we'll be giving all the teams some information regarding that this week as well. So, and that's, like I said, going through the grass, purposely driving through the grass, right? He said, quote, it certainly caught our radar. We have rules that could put the teams in a real bad spot when we see that. So we'll make it pretty clear to them moving forward, starting at Bristol, what that means, unquote. So that was Ross Chastain was one of the guys, and I believe it was SVG was the other driver that drove into the grass, entering the access road in turn 3 after taking that checkered flag over the weekend there in WWTR. Now, that's what's interesting to me, because it was after the checkered flag. I don't know what NASCAR is talking about on this. We'll have to wait and see here. If obviously they're going to send a very strong message from that side of what is happening. Other news out there, of course, the lawsuit that won't die. A judge has come out today, and they indicated they'll likely deny summary judgment motions in that 2311 Front Row Motorsports NASCAR case. So 2311 Front Row Motorsports and Polk, they filed today on proposed page limits, indicating that it will ask for summary judgment to throw out NASCAR's counterclaim that their team illegally colluded to obtain better charter terms. So basically, NASCAR has, as we all know, if you paid attention to the show, NASCAR has sued them back, countersued them, saying that they got together and was trying to get other teams to join them to not sign the charter agreement in order to get charter terms. That's collusion to the top extent, if it is done. And so NASCAR countersued them. Well, they're trying to, at 2311 Front Row Motorsports, are trying to get that thrown out. And the judge says he's most likely going to deny that summary judgment motions. These are all, I call them throw stuff on the wall. They're trying to get better negotiating terms with NASCAR to settle this thing before it goes to trial. They're trying to obviously get a better situation for the trial if it does go to trial, which in my eyes, both sides are stupid if this goes to trial. It's going to end ugly for both of them. NASCAR will win it too. They'll come out of it better because they're the bigger entity. There will be changes. NASCAR might not like them, but they're going to win this deal, and it's going to be crushing to these two teams if they go to the trial. So this is just the throw stuff on the wall mode of the case to try to get your way, try to get you some better leverage going into a negotiation of settlement or even into the trial side. As well as what they're looking at. So that news came out earlier today as well on that side of things. So this is a big race here at Bristol this weekend. Obviously, the cut line and the first cuts happen here at Bristol Motor Speedway. So, Austin Dillon last week at the Worldwide Technology Center finished 18th place. I was reading some stuff on him. Coming into this race, right? The number 3 car, Richard Childress Racing. And I've never seen a driver come in and say, hey, I finished well at 18th spot, right? He finished 18th in that, and he said it left him within striking distance of the round of 12 entering this weekend at Bristol. So that's what fascinates me about these playoffs. Like people say, you got to have the championship side, the championship side. We got to just race for the season for the championship. This is what the playoffs do that I enjoy a lot. A driver is ecstatic about an 18th place finish because it puts him in that last playoff spot, which means he just has to stay above the four guys below. Finish better than the four guys behind you, you're moving on to the next round. Simple as that. Finish better in every stage. Finish the race farther than them up there. Boom, you're on to the next round. An 18th place finish can be exciting for drivers in this racing period that we are in right now. That's what I like about this format. I know a lot of you don't out there as well. So now in the Cup Series, as we showed you with those playoff points, not as settled, I guess you could say, as the other series kind of are and what we're looking at going into this cut line here this weekend. This weekend is this 5.533 short track here, big embankments. Y'all have seen Bristol multiple times, whether you have or not, if you're not a big racing fan out there. You've seen it. You've seen the wrecks of it. You've seen, the excitement of these guys racing side by side around this racetrack. They're going to employ, they are going to employ gas-saving methods. What happens, though, at the end of this race is the question. There'll be a wreck early. Then it'll be just guys running out there at three-quarter horsepower till the end of the race. Then where are guys lined up that have to win to move on into the playoffs? They will be calculating their points throughout this race. Hey, you're in 12th place. This guy's in 13th place. This guy's in 13th, outside looking in. You've got to finish this many cars ahead of him. Those calculations will be going on out there. And then you'll see guys make moves at the end, which will cause some excitement that happens out there as well. This is the 127th running of a NASCAR Cup Series at Bristol Motor Speedway. By the way, that doesn't include, they never include the dirt ones that they did for those, 2-3 years that they did where they threw dirt on the track as well. Obviously, playoff race coming up. Now, who do you pay attention to? Denny Hamlin runs this racetrack well out there. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson have combined and won 6 of the last 9 Bristol races, including each of the last 4 races because they both won it twice. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson. Who's your favorite going into this weekend? Here's the problem. Denny Hamlin's been running really well. Pole winner. First 2 races of this playoff round. Kyle Larson, not done well at all. Wrecked Ryan Blaney last week. Keep that in your back of your mind going into this week as well. Kyle Larson, and Blaney. But Denny Hamlin raced really well here. Won last week as well. Denny Hamlin, somebody to watch. Denny Hamlin has won 4 times at Bristol. 3 of his 4 wins came in the last 9 races. He is hot at this racetrack, folks. Denny Hamlin is. Kyle Larson has led 462 of the 500 laps led at Bristol last September. That's the most ever, by the way, Hendrick Motorsports driver in a Cup race from there. Kyle Larson has won the last 2 races at Bristol. He swept both stages in each of them and leading 87% of the laps in that same time frame in those 2 races for him out there. Kyle Larson led 873 laps in the last 2 Bristol races. The most over a 2-race spread in the short track since 1972, which was Bobby Allison, by the way, at that time. Alex Bowman needs a win to advance in these playoffs. He's won the pole here at Bristol as well. Each of the last 2 Bristol races, he's won the pole going into this race. He needs a good weekend, obviously, to move on for him to get there. The spring race at Bristol this year had 4 lead changes, the fewest for Bristol since August of 2008. I just gave you the Kyle Larson domination, that's been there the last couple of races. Last April's Bristol race only had 3 cautions, the fewest at Bristol since August of 1982. What are we going to see this weekend? Are we going to see the wreckfest? Are we going to see a lot of passing? Are we going to see, which one are we seeing? Or are we just going to see a straightforward race like we've seen lately out there? Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin going to get into the front of this, and they're just going to win. They're going to dominate. Interesting interesting going into this weekend, what we could be facing. No driver failed to finish due to an accident in 2 of the last 3 Bristol races, folks. Seems almost un-American. All of the previous 78 races at Bristol, dating back to August 1983, had at least one accident, DNF, at that point. So you're not seeing those big accidents that get guys out of these races at Bristol like you used to see them out there. Last September's Bristol race, 36 laps of caution in September last year. The fewest for a race here, as I said, since April of 1984. 36 laps of caution. None of the last 17 races ended in overtime. Last one was in 2015. It was the last overtime race. You're going to see somebody dominate this race is, I think, what's going to happen. Unless guys start pushing it toward the end of this race. You'll see something, like I said, you'll see an accident toward the beginning. Somebody will spin out. Somebody will spin somebody out. The end of this race, because it's the last cutoff race, who's going to push it to get to the point where they need to get to? Get in front of somebody they need to get in front of. Who's going to push that to get a win? Because that's the only way they can advance. That's where you might see some of this mix-up coming up. But somebody's going to dominate this race. Now, the question is who is going to dominate it is the biggest question going into there. And if we all knew that, we'd all be rich people, right, betting on that at that point. The final stage of Bristol, just in April of this year, it was caution-free with final green flag strap going 235 laps. That's the second in track history. Last time it was that long was 1980. It's not what we watch Bristol for, in my eyes, that we're looking at it. 3 drivers finished top 10 in the 5 Bristol races in this next-gen car. Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Christopher Bell are the 3 drivers, which leads me to my point. This weekend, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson dominated this racetrack the last several times they've been on it. Those 2 guys are favorites. Denny Hamlin won last weekend. He's going to be pushing going into this weekend, of course. So Denny Hamlin, scratching him off. Kyle Larson has just flat out struggled the second half of the season. Just struggled. I'm crossing him off my list. Christopher Bell started the season with 3 wins in a row. Struggled since. Last week, he had some choice words for his team on the radio when he finished that race at Worldwide Technology Center Raceway. I just screwed that up. Christopher Bell had some, he said he's sick of it. He's sick of the way the car's running. He's sick of the way they're racing. And he said it on the radio for the world to hear. Christopher Bell's winning the race this weekend, folks. He's going to get his mojo back. He's going to dominate this race in the front of it. And he's going to get the win here at Bristol this weekend for Christopher Bell. Back in the winner's circle coming up here. So good for him. It'll be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to the kind of a different schedule here in racing. Again, if you missed the recap from last weekend, check it out. It's on demand now, YouTube and at Robat TV. If you have this subscription there at Robat, free, of course, at YouTube, the free podcast. Follow me at the Pit Stop Talk on X as well. Love to see you there and talk about it. If you have somebody else on the Xfinity Series to win besides the 4 guys I mentioned, or definitely not the JR Motorsports 2 winners there, let me know. Reach out to me and let's have the conversation here going into it. Of course, we'll be back on Monday recapping the Bristol races over the weekend. And then, of course, Wednesday, we'll look ahead to the next weekend's racing out there as we'll have the second round. We'll have our first cuts on the Cup Series. We'll have the first race of Xfinity, the second race of the Truck Series going into their third one. Woo-wee! Racing time playoffs. What better way can it be, folks? Have a great afternoon. We'll see y'all on Monday.